Super crisp like my computer, but oh well. In live. What is going on, guys? Welcome to the Wednesday night live stream. Cool seeing you at the show, Devin. Good speech. Thanks very much, KNA Reefing. Much appreciated. Today's stream's gonna be a bit shorter. I was hoping to have all my new coral frags to dip and put in the tank, but they're supposed to be here half an hour ago, and the flight was canceled, and it's gonna show up in an hour or two. So figure I'd still do my stream anyways and kind of go over the basic concept, and then I gotta go to the airport and pick up my box of frags. I was hoping to have them. They would not let me check a giant box of live stuff on the airplane, sadly, so I had to get it mailed back. So not quite as fun. Huge pain. I feel so bad from the frags. Thankfully, I had someone to help me out with that. But yeah, overall, pretty good. I'm running on a bit of lack of sleep. Was in Toronto at the Niagara Coral Show this weekend, and coming from the time change, it was basically like I've been up since like 4 in the morning, didn't go to bed till like 1 in the morning, so it's really like sleep, but all good. So what is going on, guys? I know I met some of you guys at the show, so super awesome. I love meeting people in person. It's a ton of fun. So if you guys are ever going to shows and you see me, make sure you come say hi. What's going on? Legacy Aquatics, Lisa's Aquatics, Carlos, Raven Wells, Ravencaw, Gabe's Tampa, Melvin. Hopefully you guys are having a fabulous day. Today I want to talk about coral dipping since I have a ton of different frags coming from many different vendors. I bought a ton from different booths, and I'll probably do a video on those later once I actually get all the frags in the tank and they're all happy and open up and super cool. So went a little bit crazy, got lots of really cool frags. So today I want to talk about dipping corals. A few different products that I use slash have used. One CoralRX. Actually, first of all, why should you dip your corals? You could have a beautiful established reef tank, and all it takes is one little pest to come in. Like you can have like a Mont-Eating nudibranch or something, one of those little creatures that come out and just wipe out a certain coral in your tank. Like there's red bugs, there's all types of little creatures that could potentially wreak havoc in your tank. And especially if you had your tank for a while, it's established, you really want to protect all the colonies, all the stuff in your tank. When you get a new coral, there's certain things you can do, like give it a really good inspection. Two different things. Actually, I just pulled this one out of the office. So you can really check your corals under good light, look for any bite marks, look for any little creatures moving on it, little red dots for red bugs, those type of things. So that goes a long way. Another cool thing to do if you guys have a UV flashlight, I know Pull Up Lab now sells one. This one I've had for ages and use this too because sometimes it will highlight some little creatures that might be harder to see without it by your eyes. Another thing when inspecting corals too, if you take it out of the water, you can look at the shine, and if there's any like little bumps and stuff, you look at those are moving around. So a bunch of different like visual things that go a long way. Another thing I like to do a lot of the time is remove the frag plugs. Usually, if you do have pests and there's eggs, they're generally going to be on the plug of a coral more than the coral itself. If the coral looks fine, it's usually the base of the coral. Some people will frag off the coral just above it if it's encrusted on and just kind of right off that bit of encrusting. Other ones will, if it's super glued on, sometimes it's really just pop the glue right off of the plug, and that will kind of protect you. So frag plugs probably the most dangerous part. Then look at your coral, make sure there's nothing that is bite marks or any visible signs of something on the frag itself. Excellent. So one of the things that get asked a lot too is how long should you dip corals? Generally, kind of depends. It's usually I'd let it sit for about 5 to 10 minutes. One of the big things too is use like a turkey base or something and agitate a lot. If you had a good chunk of stuff, you could use a power head in there, but you want to make sure you're constantly agitating the corals. If there are little bugs on it, you're actually going to knock them off. A lot of times I'll just use a little syringe and just give it a big shot of it, a couple shots every 30 seconds to a minute or so, or a turkey base, the same thing. So if there's any little creatures, the dip will weaken them, and if it doesn't kill them, they're weaker, and you'll knock them off the coral by shooting it. Now, the one thing that can happen is sometimes there could be eggs on the coral, right? A lot of times the eggs aren't susceptible to the dip, and that something could come back later. So if you are worried about something in its source, like it's not really from a safe source, or your buddy's tank that's ultra clean and full of gorgeous acros, the type of thing, then it's worth quarantining corals. I have not went this far. I know lots of people that do. They'll have a separate tank set up, and then their corals go in there for a month before it ever makes to the main tank. So a couple different kind of levels of extremeness. Most people don't do that because that is a bit extreme to have a separate system for it. So that's kind of where coral dips come in. The two I use the most are CoralRX and Revive. From a lot of people I talk to, Revive is a little bit stronger, so it can be a little bit harsher on your corals. CoralRX seems to be a little bit nicer. I have not actually used Bear myself, but a lot of people swear by this one. I bought it and I've just never actually got around to using it just because I have other legit coral brands. So if you are dosing Bear, about 10 mils per cup of water or 250 mils is about the standard dose. And same thing, generally you'd let it soak in there for that 5 to 10 minute mark. A bit of word of caution with this though is this will kill any invertebrates. So you need to rinse your coral very, very well. Just even reading the bottle, it says it's rain proof for 1 hour after application. So I heard a story the other day where someone used it in their tank and they even did rinse their coral, possibly even multiple rinse. They came back, all their shrimp were gone after that. So it's something that you really want to make sure that it gets rinsed very well. A couple of people I know, Kevin, I think you're on. I know you do multiple dips. So another thing to have is multiple kind of containers. So when you're dipping a coral, if you want to be extra hardcore, it's good to have kind of some different stages. So if I was to use Bear, for instance, I'd take a bowl and only ever use it for Bear. Like write Bear on it, write your little skull and crossbones, don't use it for anything else. Because if it can take out your inverts or pods, any type of stuff using it, make sure you have a dedicated container for that dip. The other ones, I'll reuse whatever container, I'm not as worried. But so you have your coral in here. I always use tank water as well. Now, normally when frags first show up, the first thing I'll want to do is temperature acclimate it. So I'll fill up my bowls or containers with tank water, and then I'll use those to acclimate the coral. Then it's, more or less getting used to my water chemistry. The number one thing is to make sure it's acclimated to the tank temperature. So the new coral comes in, I'll usually float them all in my tank and let them float around for 20, 30 minutes and make sure the temperature acclimated. Now, one thing to note, if you ever get a coral in the water is super cloudy and murky, or brownie, any of those tinges, that usually means there is some kind of like a mucus or coat or something that corals release into the water. And you want to change that water right away. Like, don't even worry about the temperature at that point, because if you start to bring up the temperature by floating it, you could potentially be suffocating the coral with all that stuff that's in the water. So in those situations, it's good to put in fresh water right away. Maybe temperature shocks it, but it's better than suffocating it, and it's definitely a goner. Another lesson I've learned the hard way a couple times is with deep water acroporas. They do not take fondly to dipping. If you are dipping them, very quick dip, so usually they'll get about a 2 to 3 minutes maximum. So still, you can still dip them, but very short dips. If you dip them in longer, you'll likely lose them. And I have lost quite a few deep waters in the past just from that process. So fortunately, that one's no fun. Okay, so deep waters, you can either be a little bit lighter on the dip, like a little less strength, so maybe use 1 capful instead of two type of thing. But generally, I just keep the dip fairly short with those guys. When it comes to LPS and ZOAs, another very effective method could be a freshwater dip. So what you'd want to use is like room temperature or warmer RODI water. You could float it in your tank, a little container, or just let it sit on your counter for a while, get to room temperature. For when you add those in, you put your ZOA, your LPS in, and it's only in there for about 5 seconds, 5 to 10 seconds. Like you can handle short spurts. So you got your 5 seconds or so, and you can swish in your ZOA or your LPS. And there's a lot of creatures like flatworms or the little guys that can potentially be on it that the fresh water will kill or it will shock it and it'll get it off your coral. So all precautions you can do to prevent stuff from getting into your reef tank. Now, if you're going to use the Bear, multiple dips. So if I had it, I'd have tank water, tank water, tank water. Put my coral in here. Probably it's 5-10 minutes. Make sure you agitate it, spray with the turkey baster, and whatever tools you use, keep it just for your kind of Bear treatment, and really mix it up in there. Right? You want to make sure anything once it's weakened, get it off the coral. Once you're done your dip, you can do it into a freshwater dip. Same thing, let it sit in there for about 5 minutes. You can spray it with your coral and whatnot, because you want to get any of that pesticide off of the coral. You do not want that stuff in your tank, or you could potentially lose your snails, your shrimp, all that type of stuff. So that's why it's generally like multiple stages if you're going to use the Bear. So rinse it off, can move it to the next container. So if there's any little bits in there, the next container, back to fresh water, get those little bits off, same thing, give it a little bit, spray it around, move it to another one. So very important thing with the Bear. Never used it, but I've talked to a lot of people that have, and yeah, very important precautions on that one. Naked Reefer, Andrew Newton, Hot Ashes, Philip Wells, what is going on, guys? What are we cooking? We are cooking coral today. A little coral soup. Gonna add a little CoralRX, a little Revive. On that note, do not mix your dips together. Most of them are semi-proprietary formulas. They don't really tell you what's in it. So there is a chance that whatever's in there could react with each other. which maybe makes something nastier, or maybe something cancels each other out. You don't really know, so don't do into the same container. If you really want to use multiple dips, dip it in one, give it a little bit of rinse, dip it in the next one, and you could have multiple stages. Now, generally, I'm a little bit lighter on the dips. Just as a quick precaution, if I see an issue, then I might dip it longer or be more aggressive with, your turkey baster and spraying it. Maybe it gets multiple dips, but if there's nothing visible signs on it, it's basically a precautionary dip, right? If you see an issue, then you need to give a lot more attention. Visual inspection goes a long way. Like, it's a really good idea to have like a nice bright light. I just pulled this off the desk today. I don't know why I've never used this. I think it'd actually be a great idea. But having just a really bright flashlight shine in there, give it a really good inspection. Same thing, having a UV flashlight can make a big difference too. And just going in and just really giving a good visual inspection will go a long way. Anything else in the comments? So yeah, I was hoping to actually show you guys dipping a bunch of new coral that I picked up in Toronto at the Frag show. However, still waiting. I think hopefully the plane will be here in an hour and a bit, and I can actually go get them. So prepping for that all, which will be good. Is that the Niagara Grabs? Yes, yes, it will be. Look at an adult beverage on the back counter. Must still be in the fridge. I know, right? Got nothing. Terrible. Um, yeah, so I don't know. If you guys got any questions on dipping stuff, let me know. So Zoa's LPS can do freshwater dips. Keep the freshwater dips fairly short, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, not too long. You don't want to stress the coral, but they can handle a short one. Really good for Zoas too. Like sometimes I've even had some that weren't opening up. Give it a quick freshwater dip. If there's any little Zoa spiders, any kind of random creatures on there, could potentially take them out. Red bugs, that is one I thankfully haven't had to deal with. I actually did buy a coral once, but I never put it in my tank. I don't want to risk it because I knew it had some. I put it in a little quarantine tank and it bit the dust. But there is something called interceptor, which you would have to get from a veterinarian, but that is something that's known to kill red bugs. So that is one that you could potentially try. Keep it hard to keep up on the phone, the keyboard. Yes, I know. We have to wait for part two. Yeah, so part two will be all my actual corals. I'll probably just record it and turn it into a video afterwards. That way I can wait till they all open up and show you guys all the glory. What about dipping in peroxide? Peroxide's another one. I generally only really use peroxide for algae, but I have seen people do a bit of a peroxide and water dip and do that with zoas. I don't think I've ever tried it with the SPS, but I have definitely used it on some LPS. Kevin, $5 super chat shipping for corals. Thanks, Kevin. Super not so lovely story on that one. I had my, big box, styrofoam cooler, everything's in their little sample pea cups at the airport. And someone else is like, oh, yeah, you can just check it. So I go to the counter. They're like, oh, just go over the special thing. They'll make sure it's extra care. It doesn't get on the conveyor belt, so hand carry out. So I'm like, oh, awesome. Go over to the carrier belts, and they're like, oh, we can't ship this. I'm like, what do you mean you can't ship it? I'm like, nothing on your website said you couldn't. They're like, you can ship cats, birds, basically dogs, anything else. And with those, they're like, nope, counterless can't do it. So I'm like freaking out half an hour for my flight. They're not letting me check my corals. I'm like, no. So thankfully, Patrick, if you're watching this, thank you. So thankfully, I had someone that was fairly close by that was able to pick it up for me, and then they shipped it out this morning. So I've been refreshing, watching the tracking number, waiting to go pick that up from the airport. So it was very hard and sad to leave Frags behind and get on the plane. So that was a not so fun way to leave. But aside from that, it was a good trip otherwise. So D dot, make sure to use a brush and remove the plug or glue new plug on. Ironworks Aquatics, what's going on, Ironworks? So yes, very soft toothbrush, really good tool to have. If you do see anything, you can give it a light scrub with a toothbrush. Makes a nice soft one. Isn't going to really hurt the coral, but it will get all those little creatures off of it. If you do want to use frag plugs, reusing the frag plug is usually trouble. Breaking the frag off of the plug and putting on a new plug is going to get rid of probably 90% of your issues. Almost always a lot of the little creatures, there's eggs and stuff, they're almost always on the base of the frag plug, like in the crevices and those type of areas. So new frag plugs can definitely go a long way. Kevin, thank you very much for the super chat. I'm scared to see what my shipping bill is for it, but what you gotta do? Better than losing your corals. So much appreciated. Ironworks Aquatics. Hopefully get some frag soon. Proxy for algae, what concentration? Okay. If I have any weird, like a turf algae or a hair algae or something like growing in my tank, the Safe amount that you can use in your tank is about 1 mil per 10 gallons, so go by your tank size. What I would do is turn off all my flow. This is already in the tank. If it's in a bucket, you can spot treat it, but you can suck it up, turn off your flow, and you can spot treat it. And the peroxide will kill the hair algae or most types of algae. Now, if you do too much peroxide, it actually oxidizes in the tank and it can burn fish's gill. That's why 1 mil per 10 gallons is kind of the rule. It can be harmful to your fish if you overdose it. So small concentrations not a big deal. So keep her low. Yeah, so 3%, but 30% works is awesome. Use very little. Yeah, so 1 mil per 10 gallons. Just don't exceed that. Whatever your concentration is, keep it low and you'll be okay. Less time on sensitive corals. Exactly. So the only super sensitive coral I've had is deepwater acros. When I first started reefing, they all kept dying on me, and I had no idea why. And I eventually realized it was from dipping them. So very short dipping time with those guys. They're smooth skin, so they're usually pretty easy to see if there is anything on it. So visual inspection goes a long way, and just dip it for like a minute, 2 minutes, quick shots for the turkey basters, or get like a little syringe thing, just give it a bunch of shots, and you should be pretty safe. Uh, Lost my acro, bleached out, only one in the tank. Oh, that's not good. Could be from elk swings on that one, or very intense lighting. What's going on, Tico's Reef? Yeah, for peroxide, I think I've used 3 to 30, and I don't think there's been a big difference. But yeah, definitely good in moderation. If you have the coral on a frag with algae on it, I mean, toothbrush right off the bat, just give it a little scrub. I got a little toothbrush kicking around somewhere. I drew a little fish on it just to keep it separate. But it's a good way to just clean off anything and just prevent it from getting your tank in the first place. Same thing with, Aptasia or other little creatures. Usually they're on the plug, not on the coral, right? So break the plug off, put on a new one, call it a day. For putting corals in my tank, if it's going on the frag rack, sure, I'll use a plug. But to go in my tank, I usually just use rock rubble because you can put it around, it looks natural, rather than seeing this little perfect disc in your tank. 420 Reefer, welcome, hello. So lots of fun. But yeah, I'm eagerly waiting, refreshing the page, just waiting for all the corals to show up. I was really hoping I would have had them all for right now for the stream, but yep, sadly their plane got canceled. So yeah, I don't know. I think that's all the main stuff I got on corals. I just bought all these containers from the dollar store today for about $6. So white ones are also very good to use. That way it's really easy to spot things that come off of it. It gives you a good indication if there is anything in your tank. Having good lighting also makes a huge difference. So if you got a nice little LED lamp that works, if not, find yourself a flashlight. But nice and bright, just because you want to be able to see in those cracks, in those crevices, and see if there's anything in there. For Zoas, do you change the plugs? No, I have not actually. I've never. If I saw an issue, I would break it off and change it. If I didn't see an issue, I probably wouldn't worry as much. Zoas tend to not be an issue to dip it, so they're pretty hardy overall. D. Dot, throw the storage shipping. Was wondering if you're going to put out a video of the show. Thanks so much for this $5 super chat, D. Dot. Much appreciated. I will do a video. I filmed, I think, 3 or 4 different speakers. So those will be a video, probably 4 different videos. I did a video of the show in general, and I also interviewed a bunch of different vendors. So there's gonna be a ton of videos coming over the next few weeks from all the show stuff. That'll be good. I also went to Fragbox and shot a video. I went to Candy Corals, and I did some stuff with Reef Wholesale, but like DLI and coral spawning, which is really cool. So, and I also went to Ripley's Aquarium in Toronto and did some behind-the-scenes shooting with them and kind of see the filtration, how they run the aquarium. So it was absolutely jam-packed. I was literally filming non-stop video. I was just like record, empty the card, do another one, record. So tons and tons of video. So lots of cool stuff coming the next week or two once I actually get it all edited. So keep an eye out for that. Ever double up on Coral Revive? Revive, I don't. I stick to this one. Revive is probably one of the harsher ones, to be honest. Like it's one of the more, I don't know if it's more concentrated or if it's just stronger. It tends to be a little harsher on the Coral than CoralRX. I've never used Bear, but a lot of people say Bear is actually fairly gentle on the Coral itself. It's just harder on any inverts. That's why you got to make sure you give it quadruple rinse that baby. Devin, random questions. What are the par levels under the blue millie? I will let you know once I get my par meter back. Something very sad happened, and I was actually testing the tank. I was going to do a video on a bunch of DLI stuff. I was trying to like write down the par on the iPad. One hand I was holding the little sensor rod in, and I had the thing in my hand. I dropped it in the water. then the screen went turn on. So I sent it off for warranty. So Apogee is helping me out and getting that fixed, and they actually emailed me back today, and it's going in the mail. So Apogee, much appreciated. Hopefully that was an easy fix, but so that's coming back. So I'm gonna dig in on a bunch more lighting and DLI videos. I've been talking to Ecotech about potentially doing a couple stream on it afterwards my video, so some good stuff will be coming. And I was talking to a little bit with Patrick about the Coral Lab stuff around it, so there will definitely be some DLI thing, and I'm gonna fully part test the tank and show you guys how to work out the DLI numbers and all that type of stuff. So that will be coming as well sometime in a few weeks. Hot ashes, I use a Dremel to clean the frag plug where the corals like encrusting mollusks are on them. Very nice. Any experience using Brightwell's Frag Revive? I have not used that one actually. So we use it at the shop and good experience with it. Excellent. Yeah, I haven't tried that one, Tristan, but I will keep an eye out. I like having different types of dip. March is the greatest guy. Yeah, so yesterday I was at Fragbox and I met March. Yeah, a super cool guy. I got a little tour of it, the big sump room underneath and very gorgeous display tank. So very nice little shop. So that will definitely be another video coming out. And there might even be a discount code for the first 25 people from the video. So that'll be fun. So I got to do a little bit of a deal with that. So that'll be fun for you guys. So if you guys are within Canada, get a little discount if you want to check them out. Reefer Weekend, what is up? If it's on a rock, snap it off. Yep. Ryan Gill, I bought a laser to kill Mahanos. Being pretty fun task. Okay, I've heard mixed opinions on that one, Ryan. Some people say that they don't fully die, or if they do die, like you're shriveling them up and they'll die, but sometimes I hear that you potentially might get more from those little pieces that float around. If they're not fully dead, they could land and grow new ones. So keep an eye out. Cautious that one. I've never personally tried the laser, but RWT, great talk at the Niagara show. Thank you so much, RWT. Much appreciated. I was going to record my talk, but unfortunately that didn't happen. I forgot my little dongle to go from DisplayPort to HDMI at home. So I was like mass panic 5 minutes before the show until I was supposed to talk until I finally found one. So setting up the camera just didn't happen. But I will potentially just do a video on a similar subject later, all about automation, redundancy, or it might turn into a couple different little videos. But yeah, I'll definitely put a lot of that content back out for you guys. Did you get anything from the show? Afnan Candy Corals has some pretty sweet stuff. Yes, I did. Afnan Candy Corals is a very dangerous place to go because everything is gorgeous. I got an Aussie Gold Torch, which I've wanted for ages, plus a few other super cool corals, which will hopefully be here in less than 2 hours. Since I couldn't take them on the plane, I had to get them mailed back. And that will be coming soon. But yeah, I got that. I did post a photo on Instagram. I got a really killer Scully from Big Al's in Hamilton. They had a booth. I got super cool one from them. I got some really awesome Zoas. I had a couple little bounce mushrooms and citrus ones and a bunch of Zoas. So I brought bunch of stuff down and traded. If you guys see the thumbnail for this video, about half of the frags in there I got from trade, and then the other half are probably ones that I got from different vendors. So really cool way to do it. So lots of cool stuff coming. I really hope all the frags make it. Some of them have been in little bags since Monday night. Now it's Wednesday night. I'm finally getting them with all the hoopla shipping. So really hope everything makes it, and hopefully be here soon. Seahorse Whisperer 999 super chat. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. Thank you very much. How did you keep the corals temps up? So what's going on, Ash? If you guys saw Ash's tank, I did a little video and posted on Instagram yesterday. So if you guys saw that, he's in the chat. That's whose tank it is. Make sure you check him out. Super awesome guy. And Ash actually babysat my corals for me. So huge shout out to you for that, Ash. Make sure you check out his channel. Super awesome guy. Extremely friendly. So really nice guy. I had corals on Saturday night. He took them home, babysat them for 2 nights for me in his frag tank, and I picked them up Monday night. So huge help. It was kind of a little bit stressing out. I'm getting all these corals. I'm like, wait, how do I keep them alive for 4 or 5 days until I come home? So that definitely made life easier. So much appreciated on that one, Ash. Duncan Frag fell off the plug. I had no glue. Used fluval epoxy around the base. Is there any long-term problem? Nope. That's fine, actually. Thanks for the shout out. No problem. Thanks for babysitting corals. So the only thing with epoxy, generally it's not a big deal. You can use in your tank, but it will absorb oxygen out of your tank. So if you're mounting a ton of frags or a ton of rock with it, you'll see your pH will actually like crash dive for a while. So it sucks a lot of oxygen out of the water. So just make sure that you're not depriving your tank. If you use crazy amounts of it, then it could, if you're like doing your whole scape and using it, maybe that might potentially cause an issue in oxygen with some of the fish. But it's only a little bit here and there, not a big deal. So you're fine. Or some bumblebee snails supposed to be here the other day. I have one in my tank actually. Cool little guys. And another fun one. One of the talks was actually Ash, who's in the comments right now, and I did record his, so that'll be another video that will be posted in the next week or two. Are we dipping corals? What did I miss? Remove the plugs. Yes. Removing plugs is a good idea. If it's going on a frag rack, if I don't suspect anything, I'll dip it and leave it on the plug. If I suspect anything, always remove the plugs. And if it's going in the tank, I generally always remove the plugs anyways, just that extra safety precaution. Just driving, kids. Catch you later. Sounds good. Talk to you later. Another type of things, if you do have a frag system, there are certain fish like yellow. What's the little yellow wrasse? Melanaris wrasse? No, what's the little yellow wrasse? Chorus wrasse. Thank you. Yellow chorus wrasse, another really good one. Awesome little pest eaters. Good ones having a frag tank. Also really cool stuff you can do if you have a dedicated system, like dragon's face pipefish and different creatures that will actually go around, and they have little tiny mouths, so they'll go around and hunt your corals. So if you do have a straight up frag system quarantine tank, they're really good creatures to put in there as also preventative. So if there is something, there's an egg that maybe hatches, they'll go in there and take them out and help you keep your system super clean. Do 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 do. Yeah, that's pretty good. Another really cool thing I did, there's a really awesome lady I met named Winsky in Niagara. Gorgeous tank, and she doses everything by hand. Completely amazing. But super knowledgeable lady, beautiful tank. She's like the coral whisperer. So I went over and I filmed her tank as well. So that'll be another really cool video coming out. So it was an awesome tip, and I did an absolutely ton of content I filmed. So I got a lot of work ahead of me to edit it all. Devin, my boys are watching. Say hi to you. Awesome. Thanks so much. Tell them it was very nice to meet them as well. Thanks very much. Appreciate the info. Welcome. Hi from Australia. Well, hello from Canada. If you guys have any other questions about dipping corals, let me know. Can you dip an anemone? Anemones, I've never bothered dipping. Same with rock flowers. Their whole body is soft. There's no hard parts, so there's not really much of a risk of any pest or anything attaching to it. If you have something like an LPS, like a hammer or a torch coral, generally it'd be something like a flatworm that'd be on those guys. So super quick, like 5-10 second freshwater dip could be enough to get them off. So you usually don't have to worry too much about those type of guys. So anemones, no, I've never bothered. They're basically fleshy tissue and water. Same with rock flowers, I've never bothered dipping. What I miss? You missed everything, Galgo. It's all over now. do do do. They'll move. Yeah. So yeah. Any other questions, guys? Let me know. I think I got the super quick basis. I'm extremely tired today. It's been a long day, so it's going to be a short stream today, and I have to drive out to the airport to pick lovely corals to dip. Never dip deep water acro. Very fragile. Okay, deep water acro. If you dip them, keep your dip extremely short, like 2 to 3 minutes max. So you can still dip them, but super short dip. If it's a longer dip, they're going to bite the dust. Do you dip gorgonians? I have not dipped a gorgonian. Can you dip a bubble coral? I've never owned a bubble coral. Brad, have you ever dipped a bubble coral? Yeah, neither. Yeah, I've never owned a bubble coral. Gorgonians, I have not. Those I generally visually inspect. There's also like sponges and certain creatures where they have to always be underwater. So if you are worried with those ones, those are something I'd potentially quarantine. But even like a sponge coral, for instance, like it is all soft tissue. I mean, there could be potentially something in there, but that would be more quarantine. But some of them you can't take out of water, or if they get air bubbles in, they'll die. So you always have to keep them submerged. So it's kind of tricky, and you don't really want it absorbing that dip and then putting that dip in your tank. So those ones I can't say I ever have. So it'd be more of a quarantine if I had any concerns. What was the take on the show? I was pretty excited to have a coral show in Canada. So I know they have little frag swaps here and there. Locally, I don't have much for frag stuff. try and do the odd little event myself. But actually, Niagara Coral Show and having a show in Canada, I thought was pretty awesome. So I was stoked from that, and even had some other guys from the States come down. There's people all over the place. I mean, you're right beside New York there, but so yeah, it was a lot of fun. I dipped Zinnia. I have never tried Zinnia. The Reef Sea Flower, I use Bayer. Again, with Bayer, the dosage, which I've got confirmed from a few people now, is about 10 mils per cup of water. So that's kind of what the general consensus was on that one. If my wife arrives and sees me with a set of pails on the kitchen, I'm sure I'll be camping in the backyard. These are brand new, so far I'm safe. I literally just bought these from the dollar store on my lunch break. But yes, don't use kitchen supplies for your corals, or your spouse may kill you. Keep that in mind. General consensus: keep the kitchen and the corals separate for happy wife, happy life. Very informative. Keep doing videos. Thank you very much. Any skeletons exposed can be sealed with superglue. That's a good point. If you do have damage on a coral, even if you have a coral that's S tanning or R tanning, so two different things. Putting super glue on it could actually stop that skin from receding. If it is a bacteria or parasite or something, it can seal it. If it is a coral that you just got and there's little bite marks, something there, and super gluing it could potentially seal in those little bugs and more or less take them out and prevent them from spreading. So yeah, super glue can be your friend. Very good point. Thanks for pointing that one out there, Hot Ashes. CCAM Reef Dip works well for healing, helping heal NEMs. Another good one on the healing is using iodine dips. A lot of times when people frag corals, they'll give it an iodine dip, or if you have a coral that's not opening up, sometimes giving a little dip in, something like Revive or an iodine dip can help it heal or kill a bacteria or something that may be on it, and that will kind of help bring it back. I've seen some where zoas are an opening, give a little iodine dip or something, and then, a couple hours later it starts finally opening up. So it usually indicates that there was something on it that was annoying it, and then you probably just got rid of it. And same thing, freshwater dip, seen the same thing with zoas. So it's a good kind of resort if it's just never opening up on you. Zinnia's doing good. Just did it Sunday and they're pumping out. Excellent. Zinnia, pulsing a zinnia is one of those corals that I always like, but I've always been afraid to put it in my tank. Just because I'm always worried of it spreading. Now, some anecdotal advice. My buddy Brad, who's hiding outside the camera on the couch, he has it in his tank, and he has it very high at the highest point in his tank. And one of the things he's telling me is it doesn't really grow down the rock; it only goes up. So if you have it up at the highest point in your tank, it will stay put. It's not really going to spread anywhere. So yeah, just don't cut it. Don't so it's not floating around your tank. So bit of random advice if you want Zinnia and don't want to spread. All right, guys, I think that is all I got for now. Hopefully that gave you a good overview. If you're watching the rerun or the replay of this, any questions, let me know in the comments below, and I will answer them. Everyone that joined, thank you guys. I will have tons of videos coming in the next few weeks. If you enjoyed this, smash that like button. Everyone I met at the Niagara Coral Shows, pleasure meeting you guys. Thanks for hopping on the stream today. And I'm hopefully getting some corals soon. And I will catch you guys on the next video. Thanks, guys. Have a wonderful evening.